Hey everybody, it's Laura with the CCSA. Welcome to the first webinar of the year. We have a few housekeeping notes here. I wanted to let you know that all of you all are muted at this point. And we have our presenters, Rich Aries and Lisa Wishingrad with us, and they're going to be talking about all sorts of real estate options topics. I know that they are very helpful with Marty Strehol recently on her location, so we're excited to have them as new members and a resource for us. If you have questions that are pertinent to the presentation and where Rich is or Lisa is at that point, please type them in. You'll see a chat area down below at the bottom of your screen. Type them in and we'll get to them as we can. If not, we will take questions at the end of this presentation. I wanted to let you know that we're recording this presentation and it will be on our website later today. Also, Rich's actual presentation will be there as well. So you can check our website. We always record our webinars and put the presentations up so you can go back and look at those later or share them with your employees or your partners or your husbands. So I wanted to let you know we'll get started here right now. And I wanted to welcome you all. And one final note, at the end of this webinar, there is a very brief 2-question survey. We would really appreciate it if you would take a moment to fill that out at the end of this. And then with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over because Rich says he talks a lot. So we're going to let him start talking. So Rich, Aries, and Lisa Wishingrad, welcome. We're excited to have you. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you. Take it away.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Rich Aries. You can tell by my deeper voice. And Lisa, say hello. Lisa's my associate.
Hello, this is Lisa.
I'm glad that everyone can be with us today. Yes, I do talk a lot, so I'm going to try to keep myself short and brief and have Lisa shut me up every once in a while as well. My name is Rich Aries. I own a company called ESR Commercial. We're based in Los Angeles. We're a primary tenant brokerage company, no cost to our clients. And we take our clients from soup to nuts. We help retail owners from the beginning of the search process and then through the signing of the lease. And with CCSA members, we take you all the way through forever, which we'll get to a little bit later. Our major role is to kind of make sure you're in the right location with the right deal, and that's why I come in. I have a background in all facets of real estate. And my primary objective is to get the best deal when we help our tenants. We work very closely with our clients to get them the match that we're looking for the best price. We're very successful at getting completely turnkey leases, which means, no build-out money. We get free rent, sometimes much free rent. We've gotten as much as a year free rent on many deals. We work that up front. And, of course, getting the cheap rental rates. But there's a lot of other factors as well, and we'll get to that a little bit later as well. I'm going to start out by getting Lisa started with, how we get locations. We have an office in L.A. and we have one on the East Coast. Lisa will take you through, how do you get the first location or, what do you do and how does it work? So, Lisa, I'm going to turn it over to you for kind of step one, kind of finding that location that matches your fit. Lisa?
Okay. Right now, I've been on a slide that just kind of summarizes what Rich said, which is the who is ESR Commercial slide. I'll move on to the, there's the next slide is the key services and features, which, everyone can go back to and look at this PowerPoint presentation at another point also if they want to read over all that's there. But we will be, from all these slides, be kind of reviewing these general ones at the beginning of the presentation. I will be focusing on what's we do to find the first location, and we can go on to slide 7, which has how we can work with you to find your first location. So as a CCSA member, you can now consider ESR Commercial as your satellite real estate office. Here at ESR, we usually start the process by finding what your preferences are. We discuss, for example, do you want to be in a mall? Do you want to be in a center or a storefront? After we kind of figure out which type of location you want to be in, we then move on to the parameters in which you would need, such as size, price, and the time frame of opening your new business. After we've had these preliminary discussions, we then would start the search process by taking into account a possible listings, visibility, signage, demographics, foot traffic, vehicle traffic counts, parking, and who the surrounding tenants are. We would also be checking on if there are similar businesses in the vicinity. And by working together, we are able to input this information and streamline the research to identify the opportunities that would fit your criteria and help shorten the learning curve as a new business owner. After we've gotten a group of available properties together, we put together a summary of the listings with a description of all that we get, such as square footage, what the space, what kind of condition the space is in now, and we will include any available brochures, site plans, and floor plans. After we've sent that off to you, we have a discussion and answer any questions and concerns you have. We recommend to all our clients to usually take a drive by the location and then decide which ones you'd like a viewing of. We then would coordinate appointments between you and the brokers and then evaluate your likes and dislikes and discuss what listings are worthwhile to move forward with. When you have had the chance to see the listings, we would have a conference call to discuss the pros and cons of each space and get all of your questions, any additional questions answered and concerns met. We would either then move forward with a letter of intent or expand the search until we find the right location. Rich will be going over more on the letter of intent, but if we have found the listing that you want, we would then work on getting an agreed letter of intent with the broker or landlord, and then Rich would take over as we would say, the chief negotiator, and Rich will also go over those in more detail in the next part of the presentation. And just finishing up with this part, we are here to help. ESR Commercial is here to help you with finding your first location, and you can count on us to take on all your real estate needs, such as research, coordination, negotiation, and management in this new venture. And you can consider us as part of your team. Rich, if you want to add anything or let me know if you want.
No, that's good for now. I think, as you can tell, Lisa is very, very detailed. She's kind of the opposite of when I speak, as you can tell. My job really is to kind of take you through the process from a negotiating perspective, analyze the sites, all that as well. We'll get to that in a minute. The second part of the presentation is probably for the majority of you, if you're looking for a second, third location, something along those lines. And that takes on a whole new kind of semblance in the lease, because what happens is, first of all, it's much easier to make the second and third deal because you've already been in business. So the terms become different. You get better terms. You get sort of turnkey build out much easier that way, although we usually are successful the first go around as well. You may get more additional free rent, lower rents, and other concessions. And some of the bigger concessions may have nothing to do with the actual deal points. They could be as simple as You want to reduce your personal exposure. In other words, most leases, if you're incorporated, want the corporate entity to be guaranteed by the person himself or herself. When you do a second or third deal, you may get rid of that, or you may have a lease guarantee that's much shorter. And that could do a variety of things for you. First, it may give you some, less anxiety, but also it could free up some additional capital as well, if you don't have to guarantee sorts of the lease as well. So there are certain things that go on with the second and third deals that are very important. There are certain other negotiating strategies when you have a second and third location. As Lisa mentioned before with the first location, how do you do a second location? How far away should you be? You don't want to cannibalize your additional business. So there are ways to kind of analyze, which Lisa and I are very good at. Specifically Lisa, she's good at kind of analyzing, where we think the market is. Where are your customers coming from? Why should we be here and not over here? So that goes with kind of the demographic studies, which we'll be able to get as well. And as I said, the actual lease itself will be much different. The strategy is different for second and third location. You're no longer the new kid on the block. You are now in a position of power, truthfully. And we ask for a lot more. And, we have a lot of, from our perspective, landlords call us now as opposed to the other way around. So it becomes very, very important. And when you're doing a second and a third location. Let me go through and just kind of head into the extensions, which a lot of you may do as well. What happens when your lease expires? Do you want to stay? What do you do? How does it work? And a lot of the leases have options as well. So how do you do it? What's the time frame? What's the advance time frame? Well, that really goes into what do you guys really want? I mean, do you want to stay at the location? Usually we start with people a year or two in advance sometimes. Do you want to stay here? You may not be sure you want to stay there. But if you're sure you do want to stay there, the earlier you start, the better. Even if you have an option, usually I can take care of getting even a better deal than the option, even getting more free rent, getting additional tenant improvements to kind of freshen up the location, get new flooring, new paint. Or if you've had issues with, the ceiling tiles or something, all those things which you didn't think you could get with an extension, you now will be able to get with an extension. Those are the things that we negotiate. You also, if you have 2 years to go in a lease and you want to stay, we could rip up that lease and get you lower rent starting tomorrow. We can also get you free rent starting tomorrow. All that happens all the time. Another reason we're around. It happens, so an extension doesn't have to be simply exercising what the option says. In fact, it doesn't happen that way most of the time for me in my 30-plus years. Most of the time, we renegotiate. Now, a lot of the time, you're not sure you want to stay. What do? You may not know you want to stay till 2, 3, 4 months in advance. That happens all the time as well. One of the things that Lisa and I can do, and we do all the time, is what's around in the area. You may want to get a feel for, what are other rents going for? How am I going to know I want to stay? What type of deals can I get? We do all of that. We will make sure that you will feel comfortable with whatever deal we do, whether it's an extension there or using rental rates that are in the community to get a better deal from where you are now. We say, hey, Mr. Landlord, if we go down the street, the rent's going to be $3 a foot less. If you want to keep us, this is what you're going to have to do. Again, it happens all the time. We do that every day in our business. So an extension doesn't, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. We had a question, and this may be helpful. I'm sorry to butt in here. When you mentioned second, it's from Sherry. When you mentioned second or third location, are you speaking of with your company or in general?
I'm sorry, for, the second and third location for the actual studio. In other words, the studio, like Marty, has a second studio. So when she was opening the second studio, she ran into issues that she shouldn't have run into. So that's really what I'm talking about. If you're a studio owner and you want to open a second studio, how does that work? And what position are you going to be in? So not to do with me, but more with the actual, like the client. What is the person want to do with the second one?
We would be helping. Yeah, we would be helping the store, the business owner, with any needs they have with a second or third location.
So And again, we could go through that individually. You know, the real estate's interesting because everybody has their own issues. So again, after this is over, feel free. We'll give out our information, and feel free to call us about questions as well too. Anyway, the extensions. So, you know, when do you have? You know, we'll have to go through each individual process on what the time frame is going to be, types of terms, and all the analysis we're going to do. And I think that comes into play when we do an extension. The last issue that I want to touch upon is kind of landlord issues, which is something that Lisa and I are going to do very specifically for CCSA members. We're going to be your real estate department forever, which is something we don't do. That's specifically for CCSA members. You're going to have issues down the road. Usually you do. My air conditioning is not working. Who do I call? What do I do? Am I responsible for a new roof? Am I responsible for whatever the issue would be, electrical issue, whatever it could be? There's always an issue that comes up, and the question generally is, hey, am I responsible? What does my lease say? Those become very important issues, and they could be very expensive to find out what's going on. We're going to take care of all of that as a CCSA member. All you do is you call Lisa or myself with the issue, and you and I will spend as much time as you need to answer the question, or at a minimum, I'll give you the advice that I feel is best, which is, hey, this is what it says, but try to do this, this, and this. In some cases, like for Marty right now, she has an issue with her other deal that she had done originally, and her husband, Mark, and I are going through what he's doing. So I've become more the director of the play in his instance, which is say this, they're going to say this back to you, and you say this back to them. And we already handled his issue, actually. So as a member, you're going to get all sorts of advice. You'll get explanation of the issues. We'll give you the experiences we've had. We'll become a sounding board for all your issues, all that sort of thing. And again, it'll become a very important part of what we do for all the members, and we're happy to do it. And I think it'll be a big help as well, as I said. I think just asking or having a soundboard like me and Lisa will be very helpful for all the CCSA members. There's a lot of other things that are very specific to individuals. Unfortunately, that's why I don't give a lot of speeches, because a lot of the time, you know, the individual owner really has a very specific question to their own deal. And I think that's why a lot of the real estate, like what you guys are listening to now, would be it's a good caveat to hear, but I think at the same time it's probably something you need to speak to us individually. And again, we're always around. One of the things that Lisa and I are very good at, and I think Lisa touched on it initially, was we are spectacular at staying on top of things. You'll hear from us, probably daily if you deal with us. Sometimes maybe too much. As you can tell, I talk too much, but Lisa will be on the phone with you or through email or texting as often as you'd like. But we're on top of deals. They don't sit. And as far as issues, the same way. Lisa, do you want to have something to add on any things that I didn't touch on as I kind of expound upon my own? Let me go through one of the things. I'm sorry. Let me go through a bit. Let me go back a little bit on the letters of intent, which I didn't touch upon. When you do these deals, one of the things that is very important is how you cage the letter of intent. The letter of intent is also called the offer. How we do it, the template that we have will incorporate what you're looking for, but also what we need. For example, air conditioning warranties, or what the security deposit is, or when you get it back, or issues that have really little to do with what the actual rent would be, but outside issues. So the letter of intent, what happens in the process is a letter of intent will go out. It'll be sent back from their counteroffer, and then it's analyzed through all of us, Lisa, yourself, and myself, on how we get back to it. The letter of intent is really the first step. And then the counteroffers go back and forth. And again, I'm sure a lot of you have been through the process, but there's a lot of intricacies in between when you do the analysis. What are they going to say? What are we going to say? It's kind of directing a play. How, what are they thinking? Do they have others on the table? Do we have others that we would take, other sites that we would do? The other site we looked at over here was $3 a foot less. So when you do the letters of intent, it's crucial to get all the information, which is why Lisa is so critical. She will have, all the information at our disposal. This is what this center was asking. This is what I think we can get it for. So again, after doing this for 30 plus years, one of the really major jobs that I have is kind of reading the mind of the landlord and the other broker. What are they going to do? What are they going to say? What have they done in the past? When you're around so long, I also know, hundreds and hundreds of brokers, some of the biggest brokers in the country. Sometimes it's just for advice. Hey, Tom. Hey, Mary. In this city, what are rents going for? Where's the area evolving for my client to go to? Sometimes it's just, that's my adversary. Hey, it's simply, hey, what's your best shot? I want to know you have the best deal. What's the best deal here? So having the experience and being around so long is very helpful. It's not great getting old all the time, but in this business, it actually is. It's a plus to know kind of, the experience I had in 1984 was this. When I did a deal in 1994, it was this. All those kind of experiences really are helpful when I negotiate. And I think that's important when we go through the letters of intent. As I said, I don't want to cramp too much in. I really want to hear some questions. So I'm not sure, Lisa, did I miss anything on the first 4 issues before we kind of get some questions?
I think you had a good, definitely, I think that was all worthwhile, and you can see if there's any questions that are specific to a certain area.
Can we get some questions?
Sure.
Laura?
Sure.
I think that'll be helpful.
Sure. If you guys have some questions, go ahead and start typing them in here, and Rich and Lisa will be happy to help answer those. So, Rich, I have a question. This is Laura, and I don't own a studio, obviously, but you said there's no charge for your fees?
Oh, yes. Oh, my favorite part. Sure. That's probably one of the questions. Here's how it works. It's very simple. It's a very simple kind of – anybody there who's ever purchased a home, it's kind of the same idea. The landlord or the other broker pays our fee. So we're totally 100% free to you. You don't save any money by not using me. The broker is already hired, in most cases, a broker, and they already have their arrangement. Simply, I split the fee with the other broker. The other broker isn't thrilled all the time, but that's how it works. So the landlord doesn't care if he was going to pay a $1,000 fee, and now Rich makes $500 and the other broker makes $500. The landlord doesn't care if he has to give $500 to each of us or $1 to 1,000 people. He's already made his deal. Makes no difference to him. From your perspective, you don't save any money. So you get a free service, and I think an excellent free service, simply by just having us take you through the process.
All right. Well, that's great. And then you can also work with anyone all over the country, all over the world. Are you just Canada?
Yes and yes. No. Yes and yes. We are a national company. I've done deals in every single state in my career. And, one of the benefits of having well, I'll let Lisa answer that question because she has to answer it all the time. Well, Lisa, why don't you explain, how it works and the benefits, actually, if you could. Why us?
Yeah, I mean, with our company having over 30-plus years in the business, we now have long-standing relations with the best and most well-informed brokers all over the U.S., and besides that, we're also utilizing today's technology to start off the search process, which really helps get the ball rolling. And as well as when we're doing that search, a lot of times some of the contacts that come up are contacts we've worked with already in the past. And if needed, if we don't have people in that area, we are very good at establishing new relationships with brokers and or management companies whenever is needed. And with both Rich and I, we're both people that don't give up. We keep on going and come up with a solution to any issue that we're confronted with. Any roadblocks, we find a way through them. I kind of consider myself kind of as a detective when needed, investigating an area and becoming familiar with it and, talking to all different people in the industry for that region. We're trying to find the location for our client for. And we just, when it comes to getting to that negotiating process, as Rich said, Rich has a keen sense of where he can push, and get more for our client and have the landlord work with our client.
Right. So it happens in every.
We just like kind of with all these years, we've developed kind of a strategy that helps us to, minimize the time and any potential errors and maximize maximize our clients' growth in their business.
Great. Well, that leads right into the next question. It's from David. David says he negotiated his first location and got 1 year free rent. Business has been okay, but the mall seems like it could have better traffic. How do I know if I'm in a good location and am paying the right amount for where I'm located?
Well, I think I think there's a lot of different. The answer is getting a year free rent. There's always sets up some flags to me initially because a year free rent's a lot. I mean, we've gotten that before, but to get that and get the complete build out and all the rest, we would have a kind of a pattern to see what would work. But as I would say, I think for us, it's really getting the kind of the information of other sites in the area. So, do we know it's the best deal? I know that when I'm doing a deal, that I feel very certain that when I finish the deal, that it'll be the best deal in that center. That's what I'll feel. As far as kind of doing the analysis, David, that would be one of the things we would look at initially. What are the other centers going for in the area? What kind of deal can we push? Most of the time what we do, honestly, is we put out more than one offer. So even if, you, David, had decided this was the best opportunity for me, I would always suggest, why don't we put out a second and third offer as well and see what happens, see how it goes. I don't mind spending the time doing it. It's completely free, and we'll get a sense of what other tenants, what other landlords will do. If one landlord is giving a year free and the other three, the offers we sent out are giving nothing free, it's going to send up some red flags. What's the issue? Is there some issue with the traffic pattern? Is there a parking problem? Are the co-tenants, are people moving? What's going on with the center? Is there something that we're missing? So a lot of the time it's really about doing the investigative work prior to signing a lease. What are other sites doing? What are they giving us? And that's usually a pretty good kind of marker about, what kind of deal you've got. And then that's really the best strategy is kind of really learn the area. I don't know if that helped you with the answer, but that's usually what we do.
Well, great. And then I imagine in your analysis you would have, there's reports on traffic, and can you see like how many people have moved out, what the capacity is, or what the number of empty storefronts, that sort of thing?
Yes. The answer is yes, of course. Yeah. What will happen is Lisa would be, she would be able to gather the kind of the informations first. So the information like demographics and traffic counts, and usually a lot of the centers, as I'm sure a lot of the people on this call know, the landlord usually has a real setup that looks really nice and pretty and glossy, and it'll give you traffic counts and all that. So a lot of that information is generally given initially. The question is it all true? And how do you find out? And what do you do? Well, a lot of it is, again, investigative work, which Lisa is an absolute terrific. She's really spectacular. So finding out about people that are moving, people, why they're moving. Are people moving out, moving in? If they're moving, where are they going to? So the answer is yes. All that information is incredibly important. It's also, sometimes moving has nothing to do with whether the site is good or not. Sometimes it's really the actual, store. So you really have to do a lot of work and kind of analyze why. And usually you get the broker's take on it, which is usually the landlord's take on it, which is, no, the center is great. We're great, but the tenant was terrible. And then you call the tenant says, the site's terrible, but I'm great. So you have to figure out where we are. And that happens with, again, a lot of experience is what we have, but also Lisa's kind of diligent work on what's going on with the community and my job of kind of extracting information from the other brokers.
Great. All right. Sherry wants to know if the East Coast studios have a different contact, or will they still just go through your office?
Oh, no. We're national. Every studio in the country goes right through us. We're doing, Lisa could tell you, probably maybe 20 or 25 different states as we speak now on different folks.
Okay. Erin wants to know how far in advance of opening a studio would she start looking at properties?
I would say at least 6 months. Now, we've done deals where people have signed up and we've made a deal in 30 days. So we can make deals very quickly. But, if you really want to get a sense of a community, sometimes it takes a few months. So, and also, when you make the initial offer, sometimes Aaron will get a call from me saying, listen, I think we should sit on it for a week. So a lot of the time, negotiation doesn't go with like buying a home, back and forth very quickly. Sometimes it's, hey, slow it down a little bit. We're going to get a better deal once we sit. Let them call us, the same sort of strategy. So a lot of it's strategy. But I would start as, the earlier the better on a additional location, just to kind of get a sense of, kind of the market. But we can make deals quickly. We've done deals, Marty's deal that we're working on now, it took us maybe 4 or 5 weeks to kind of really hone in on what we're looking for. So it doesn't take that long, but, we could take as long as you want. We can stall. We can do whatever you like. But I would say it's sooner rather than later.
All right. And Corin wants to know, when opening a business for the first time or leasing for the first time, what is the minimum lease you should consider? Some landlords are concerned with startups if business is not successful and want a lease of 10 years. They want that locked in.
It's a great question. That goes through a couple of things. That's not a question I can answer in 5 minutes, but I'll give you the 1-minute version. First off, I think most studios, let's go through Marty, since she's what I'm working on. She's doing a 5-year lease, which is probably the most common number. We can do 3-year leases, 5-year leases, 10-year leases. Or you can do less than 3 years, and you can do more than 10 years. But most do 3 or 5 or 10. You have to do what's comfortable for you. But I think a lot of it also, as I was mentioning earlier, has to do with what your personal exposure is. Sometimes you would probably sign a 100-year lease if you were non-personally. In other words, if your corporation signed the lease only, if you had one, it's really about your comfort level. So landlords can ask for whatever they want. It doesn't mean they're going to get it. My job is to make you comfortable. If you want a 5-year lease and they want a 10-year lease, we say we're doing a 5-year lease, so there's no deal, and they usually capitulate. So I think that question is a much broader scale on personal exposure, which I have to talk to you individually and kind of take you through that.
All right. And you mentioned Marty. Dina just texted me and said Marty just texted her that she could not be on the call, but wanted to tell everybody that she has been extremely happy with the work that you all have done and the deal that you secured.
Thank you. See, that's what when you pay Marty $20, that's what happens. You get that all the time.
Exactly. You could have gotten her for 10, to be honest.
That's right. I didn't know that.
All right. David has a follow-up here. He has an early out clause, and I'm wondering if he should use it. I have another 6 months before he has another 6 months before he can execute it.
Would that be something? Yeah, he's going to have to call me. That's not something I can answer. I have to talk to him individually about that. So feel free to call me, because that's not something that I could answer in 10 seconds. I have to talk to you about what you have, and there's a lot of different variables with that. So that needs some personal attention. So feel free to call me. We'll take care of that anytime.
Okay. And you want to go ahead and give him your contact information now?
I can put that up here.
Okay.
It's, on our last slide. Yes. It should be up now.
So there's Rich. There's the number for Rich. It's 818-802-4730, and you can reach him at RD Aries, ARIES at AOL.com, and he will be happy to get you started and get you looking. Now, if somebody doesn't have an early out clause in their lease, and they're in the middle of like 5 years, is there a way to renegotiate?
Yes. All of that is a great question, and the answer is yes. But that also takes more than 5 minutes. Yeah, the answer is yes. Call me. We can go through that. But there's a lot of ways to skin a cat. There's something called duty to mitigate. The landlord has to mitigate damages, so they can't just collect rent from you forever. You can do a buyout of some sort. You can market the property through different ways. I try to get out that way. You can give the landlord notice that you want to get out, and how that works. So there's a lot of different ways to go, but again, it's more than a 30-second answer. It's very specific to that person, right?
All right. And Rachel is taking it to the next step. She's interested in buying a building. Can you all help
We do
with
that too, yes. Yeah, absolutely. I was going to bring that up as well. The answer is yes, Rachel. Love to talk to you. I'm doing probably 8 purchases right now, 7 or 8 purchases on smaller buildings and all that. Yes, it's the process is a little different, but the negotiations and the real estate and all that and the letters of intent are all the same. So absolutely.
Fantastic. Well, does anybody else have any other questions? Please type them in now. I will tell you what, I have learned a ton today from you all. So thank you. And I'm not even leasing a building or buying a building.
I appreciate that. You're lucky that you have Lisa to tame me. I mean, I'm, as you can see, getting me to speak at somewhere I love doing, but I go off tangent. So Lisa is great at kind of saying, Rich, come back here a little bit. So she's spectacular, and she's she really is she's more than my right arm. She'll be your actual great conduit to any deals that we do. So maybe you should have Lisa's number as well. Lisa, why don't you give your number out as well in case
sure.
they want to speak to you.
Right. My number that you can reach me at is 310-869-9430.
Well, great. I think that's all the questions we have, and we're a little bit over time, but I think it's well worth it. So if anyone else has any questions, please feel free to contact Rich or contact Lisa. And there's Rich's information. And this, I'm going to send this out as soon as the recording finishes up. And so you should get that this afternoon. Don't forget, you guys, there's a very quick 2-question survey at the end of this. Please make sure you take that. It really is helpful for Dina and myself in planning for webinars in the future for you. And I thank all of our members for joining us today, but especially Rich and Lisa, I wanted to thank you for doing this. I know you're new members. I know this is a little bit out of the norm for you to do a webinar like this, so we greatly appreciate it. And
thank you for having us. Really
appreciate
it. Thank you. Really appreciate
it. Thank you.
Well, great. Well, I'm going to stop here, and I will send the recording out to everyone. And just wanted to thank you all for attending and supporting the CCSA. Have a great rest of your week. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Laura.
Thanks. Bye-bye.